It's been said that words become flesh. Well, Casey Wickstrom, yoga instructor, proves that, and he's ready to get inside your body and give you the shoulder experience. Take it away, Casey.
Thanks so much, Adam. Really happy to be here. Happy to talk about the shoulders. I have a special interest in shoulders. That's where I tend to store a lot of stress. And it's important to remember that everything is connected in the body. So if you're storing stress in your shoulders and you're tight here, you're also going to be tight in your neck, and you're going to work your way up, tightness and tension in the jaw, migraines, etc. So everything's connected. When we start to stretch and open up the shoulders, we're going to be stretching and opening up other parts of the body as well. We're going to start very basic, very simple, very gentle. These are things that you can do seated in an office chair, maybe seated on a bus, something like that. Adam and I are both on blocks just to raise the hips slightly, elevating the hips away from the ground. You don't need to do that, but if you have a block around, sit on it. We're going to start just with very basic shoulder rolls. Essentially what we're doing is we're rolling the shoulders up, back, and down away from the ears. What this is doing is countering all the time we're spent hunching over a steering wheel or a laptop or a screaming child. Most of the time we're rounding through the shoulders, creating a round in the upper back. And we're going to counter that by just rolling the shoulders up, back, and down. And in doing that, we're not only opening up through the shoulders, we're also opening up through the clavicle bone as well. We're opening up through our heart center, as we would say in yoga. And we're going to synchronize this movement with the breath. Very simple. We're going up on the inhale. And on the exhale, we're bringing the shoulders back and down, and you'll feel that opening in your chest. So just a few cycles of breath, mindful movement, synchronizing the movement with your breath. Shoulders come up and down, and really feel that opening. Maybe do one shoulder, then the other, just bringing awareness to the fact that you indeed do have shoulders, and we're going to start opening them up.
Feeling gratitude for shoulders right now.
We can even switch directions, shrugging the shoulders up and bringing them forward as well. Pretty much just lubricating, getting into the shoulder mobility here, creating a little more movement, generating a little more mindfulness. Then when you're ready, let's do it one more time. Shoulders up, back, and down. And we're going to keep them there. So we're staying open through the chest and the shoulders are relaxed away from your ears. Make sure that your spine is long here. It's pretty much all we need to do. All the other shoulder stretches and the openings that we're doing from here on out, we want this to be our baseline. Opening through heart center, staying open through the chest and keeping the shoulders relaxed. If you find that over time you've started slouching again or you're getting more of a round in your shoulders, roll them up, back, and down. This will be our baseline. So close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, feeling this opening through your shoulders. Now keeping your spine long, shoulders relaxed, eyes can be open or closed. If you have the opportunity, go ahead and close them. And staying with your breath, gently begin to lower your right ear down towards your right shoulder. The shoulders stay relaxed, so there's going to be space between that right ear and right shoulder. And we're feeling that stretch through the left side of the neck. However, this is not just a neck stretch. The more we relax the shoulders, the more we're getting into that trapezius or upper shoulder muscle on the left side. So finding a little more lengthening, a little more lightness with each breath in. Finding a little more depth with that right ear toward the right shoulder on each exhale. Staying for the breath out. Inhale, head comes back to center. Next exhale, lower your left ear down toward your left shoulder, keeping space between the two. This time we're feeling that stretch. The right side of the neck, but again, everything is connected in the body. When we're stretching and lengthening through the neck, we're also stretching the shoulder, the right shoulder, the upper trapezius muscle. And keep in mind, we're doing this for about 3 cycles of breath, but you can do this for 1 cycle. You can do this for 10 cycles. I recommend staying with the breath because that keeps us connected to the body. So instead of stretching for, say, 30 seconds of clock time, see if you could stay with your breath for 3 to 5 cycles. Next inhale, head comes to center. Gently lower your chin to your chest, staying open through the shoulders. Begin to gently rock your head from side to side, right ear towards right shoulder, left ear towards left shoulder. Again, this is getting into the neck, but also the shoulders. Notice any rounding in your upper back. Stay open through the collarbone, open through the clavicle. And you can stay with this graceful pendulum-like motion back and forth, or if you like, start to take full circles with your head, and we're synchronizing this movement with the breath as well. So when your head is up at the very top, that's the top of your inhale, and your chin is down at the chest, that's the bottom of your exhale. Hey, Georgie.
Georgie's doing yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Georgie's into the shoulders too. Switch directions if you've opted for those full head circles. You can still be doing the back and forth as well. One more time around, your chin stops at your chest. Then head comes to center. Go ahead and blink your eyes open. You can close them again if you'd like a little bit later. This is just for the visual component. We're going to keep getting into the shoulders. Find your left arm, drape it across your chest. Right arm comes underneath and your right hand grabs the top of that right shoulder. So this can be pretty passive. We're still getting into the shoulder right now, that left shoulder. We can keep the elbows down towards the chest. It's a much more passive, neutral expression. If you want to find a little more activation, we just simply bring the elbows up, maybe towards shoulder height. We're still keeping that left arm and shoulder relaxed. So eyes open or closed will be for about 3 cycles. Again, it could be longer, it could be shorter in your life. Can stay for the inhale. Deepest point for the exhale. When you're ready, gently release, reset. Then other side. Right arm drapes across the chest, left arm comes underneath, left hand grabbing that right shoulder. Elbows can be down for a more passive expression, or for a little more intensity, you bring the elbows maybe up towards shoulder height. A little more activation. And we're still keeping the shoulders relaxed. It may seem kind of paradoxical, but the more we relax in our shoulders, the deeper we'll be able to get there. So we're not forcing anything. We're not cranking on anything.
Are you actively pulling your scapula down?
Maybe a little bit, but it's more just the natural weight of the body. So we're working with everything. The body is on the same team. Hey, George. Deepest point for the exhale. Gently release, reset. The next shoulder opener is Garudasana, or eagle arms. Oftentimes eagle is the leg comes over and the arm goes under. Right now we're just focusing on the arm staying seated. For here it would be the right arm coming underneath. A few ways to go about this. For some of us, eagle is a really intense bind in the arm. This is a bind. We can bring the palms together. We can also bring the back of the hands together, or if you're just not having it in that way, you can grab opposite shoulders. We're still stretching through the shoulders, and just like the previous stretches, pretty neutral, pretty gentle. We can keep the elbows down wherever the arm bind is, or for a little more activation, we can bring the elbows up, maybe towards shoulder height. I always get a nice pop in my right shoulder when that happens. And you can gaze at your forearms, through your forearms. I'll keep the elbows down just for the demonstration for right now. Eagle arms are a great shoulder opener, a great arm bind. Also opens up through the mid-back or the middle of the shoulders as well. Be aware of any rounding. There can be a little bit of round as we bring the arms together. But we want to make sure that we're still staying open and relaxed through the shoulders. One more deep inhale. Stay for the exhale. And at the bottom of that breath out, unwrap. Left side. Left arm can come under, palms can touch, back of the hands can touch, or you can grab opposite shoulders. Up to you. We keep the elbows down or bring them a little bit higher for a little more activation. Still keeping the tops of the shoulders relaxed. The higher the elbows, the more active that stretch becomes. The more we get into, you'll feel this in the tops of your shoulders. Elbows down, still stretching through the shoulders. Also, take this opportunity to make sure that you're really giving your body the breath that it really needs. As you breathe in, just know that you're breathing in, and as you breathe out, know that you're breathing out. That awareness keeps us connected to our body. Oftentimes throughout the day, we're breathing more in our chest. Those are shorter, shallow breaths. It's more conducive to anxiety, stress. When we start to breathe deeper, fuller from our lower belly, it changes our experience of breath. Brings us deeper into relaxation, keeps it more mindful. For the inhale, stay for the exhale. Gently release. Again, all of these can be seated, you can be standing, you can really be wherever you like. We're going to move on to our all fours, tabletop, hands and knees. This you might not want to do in your office unless you're comfortable with your surroundings. If you want to come down to all fours wherever you are, just be aware of your surroundings.
Or on a bus, right?
Or on a bus, right, exactly. So in tabletop, we're starting with the neutral spine. Shoulders are stacked directly over your wrist, hips are over your knees. And find your belly button, just pull it up and in towards your spine. What we're doing there is activating the core. And when we engage the core, we're protecting the low back. We're going to incorporate a little bit more movement here, still synchronizing the movement with the breath, but we're going to do what we call in yoga cat and cows. So for cow, we take an inhale and we let the belly drop. We're opening through the shoulders and through the chest, and maybe we're setting our gaze up towards the ceiling. And on the exhale, we press the mat away, rounding through the spine. Relax your neck, crown of your head drops. Belly button pulls up and in toward your spine. That's cat pose. And staying with the breath, inhale, belly drops, opening through shoulders, opening through heart center, feel that clavicle bone open up. And then exhale, pressing the mat away as you send the breath away, rounding through the spine, shrugging your shoulders up towards your ears. 3 more rounds at your pace with your breath. Find yourself back in tabletop, neutral spine. Those are some really great movements, kind of more of a full body experience, but we're still keeping the focus on the shoulders. From here, we thread the needle, take an inhale, extend your left arm out to the left. And on the exhale, thread that arm underneath. We're coming onto the left shoulder. The hips stay high here. And with your right arm, you can reach up and over, maybe planting that hand above you. This is stretching through that right shoulder. And we can stay here, or if you'd like, we can take a bind, which is a little more active, and the right arm comes behind the back, the right fingertips. Maybe grab the inside of that left thigh. However, simply bringing that right arm behind you is going to create that bind. So whether or not you're grabbing the inside of that thigh is not as important. If you have the bind, we're opening up more through that right shoulder. And we're keeping space between the left ear and the left shoulder as well. Just a few cycles of breath here. Stay for the inhale. Deepest point for the exhale. And unbind if you're bound. Press yourself back up. Tabletop. This is plank. Finding yourself back neutral spine reset. From here, we take an inhale, right arm, extend it out to the right. Exhale, threading the needle, coming down onto that right shoulder, reaching up and over perhaps with that left arm, planting that hand above you, finding a little more stability there. Or if you'd like, you can take that left arm around the back for a bind. Personal preference here, this side may be different. In fact, it probably is. The hips stay high, and we're staying with our breath. Breathing like it's easy, and it will get easier. Very much so. Keeping the hips high allows us to keep the spine long, and then we have that sort of downward slope that gets into the shoulders, which is nice. With or without the bind, both shoulders are getting work. And as you can tell, we're starting to gradually increase the intensity of these stretches. Before we were opening up, finding a lot of gentle stretches that we can do being seated. Now we're using the weight of the body to open up a little bit more, gradually intensifying and going a little bit deeper. It's gradual progression. Just 2 more cycles of breath on your own. Staying for the inhale, deepest point for the exhale. Unbind if you're bound, push yourself back up, tabletop, hands and knees. From here we come to Child's Pose Balasana. This is also opening up the hips. If you need to use a block to keep your hips high, that's fine. The knees come wide as you'd like, maybe the width of your mat. If your hips are cool with that, we're touching our toes together and then letting our hips sink down towards our heels to your degree. Once we're here, we walk the hands forward, resting the forehead, maybe resting the forearms on the mat. Starting out in a very passive expression of this Balasana or Child's Pose, letting gravity work with you to let your hips sink down. And even here as we're resting the arms, we're opening through the shoulders, getting into the hips, keeping the spine long. Balasana is inherently a very grounding pose, but not just physically. Obviously there's that, we're grounded physically, but mentally, emotionally, we can use our breath to get even more grounded. From here we come to another great shoulder opener. Make sure that your elbows are shoulder width apart and then bring your palms to touch. Your forehead stays resting on the mat. Once your palms are touching, we bend in the elbows and bring the thumbs to the back of the neck. So the elbows are bent, elbows are shoulder width apart, thumbs are to the back of your neck, and your palms, or at least fingers, are still pressing together. And this is subtle at first, and then when you start to settle back into that stillness, you'll start to feel it open up through the shoulders. Again, notice if you're tensing the neck, tensing the shoulders, tensing your jaw. Relax the muscles in your face, relax your shoulders. The more we relax, the deeper we'll be able to go. Gently release, press yourself up. I want to show a deeper intensification option of this. Will you hand me that block? If you have 2 blocks or something equal level, this is really intense. If you like where we just were with that Child's Pose and opening up through the shoulders in that Balasana, and you want to go deeper and see what that's like, we place 2 blocks down. We take the same pose, the same approach. However, we're putting our elbows on these blocks. So forehead comes down, and then
Hands come to the back of the neck. And as you can see, my elbows are elevated above the mat. This is going to open up through the shoulders and the middle of the shoulders as well. This gets into the tops of the shoulders. This is pretty intense, especially if you were to spend, say, 30 seconds or a minute here. This is, in principle, what we were just doing, but when we add the blocks, we had a lot more intensity and a much deeper level of opening through the shoulders. So, optional, but something worth exploring if you like. How we doing?
I love that. Deeper is good. Go deep.
It's good to have the options, you know. Coming down onto our belly. This is one of the more intense yoga poses. It's called crocodile. And if anyone could tell me why it's called that, I'd appreciate it because I have no idea. It doesn't look like a crocodile.
Feel your inner crocodile.
We'll start with baby crocodile. So coming down onto your belly, what we call belly down savasana. Right ear is down on the mat, and then goalpost or cactus your arms. So there's a 90-degree angle with both arms. Your elbows are in line with your shoulders, and your palms are down on the mat, getting that 90 degree. We'll be here just for a second. And again, if you're on a flat surface, yoga mat or not, even this is opening through the shoulders. Everything we do, no matter how subtle it may seem, we're still doing the work. Keep that in mind. All right, moving into baby crocodile, starting there. Your right arm stays just as it is. Your right ear is still down on the mat. This is going to be one of the most intense shoulder openers that we offer in this sequence, or this segment. Right arm stays the same. What we're doing is we're starting to lean over towards the right. We can use our left hand to gently press away into the mat. The left foot comes behind the right calf. And we're keeping the right shoulder planted on the mat. If that means you don't go as deep, that's fine. But you'll feel this opening through the shoulder. Do you feel that?
Oh yeah, the pectoralis minor.
Yeah.
The one that comes from too much texting.
Correct. Let's see. Adam, right now your chest is off of the mat. See what it's like to bring your chest on to the mat and keep, yeah. So that may mean you're not going as deep, but because the upper body is resting on the mat, we're getting a more neutral approach to the stretch. We're going to get it more gentle. When we keep the chest off the mat, that's more active. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yin, you're relaxing into the pose.
Right. It's a very passive approach, which gives us access to a much deeper stretch than other styles of yoga or other kinds of stretches.
The scapula is going towards the spine.
Right.
This is alligator. Crocodile.
Alligator, crocodile, yeah.
A crocodile.
One you see in a while, the other one you see later. Stay for the inhale. And on the exhale, gently release. Right ear can still stay. We're just bringing everything back. So that's baby crocodile or baby alligator. Different studios have different names. If you want to come to crocodile, the standard edition, what we're doing is we're straightening that right arm, and the right arm stays in line with the shoulder. So it's the same sort of thing. It's just going to be a little bit more intense because we don't have that 90-degree bend in the arm. So by extending that right arm and then once again leaning over and keeping that arm in line with the shoulder, keeping the right shoulder planted on the mat, you'll feel this. And this also sometimes cuts off the circulation to the arm. So if you find your hand is falling asleep or you find that your arm is starting to tingle, that's okay. Some of these stretches definitely bring more blood to parts of the body and decrease blood flow to other parts of the body, but because we're only doing it for a short amount of time, it's temporary. So a little more intense, would you say?
Little bicep, little forearm.
Right. It's kind of getting into the joint there, and you can feel this almost in your armpit for layman's terms, I guess. So this is all one side. We'll take one more deep inhale. And exhale. Gently return onto your belly. This time arms come goalpost or cactus. And left ear is resting on the mat. So resetting, allowing the circulation to return to that right arm. Keeping the spine long. And we can check too before we start to turn towards our left. Just make sure that the elbow is in fact in line with the shoulder. And there's a 90-degree angle there for baby crocodile. I neglected to say this on the first side, but as we twist, which we can do now, or start to roll over onto or towards the left side, right foot can plant behind the left calf. We can also reach around for a bind that opens us up through the right shoulder. And if your neck is hanging out and it bugs you, you can place a block or a pillow underneath your head. This would be a supported baby crocodile pose, but that's personal preference. I don't mind having my head resting on the mat, but know that you can use blocks or a pillow for a little bit more support. And if that bind gets too intense, we can plant that right hand, thanks, and just keep it as is. We can use that as support to stay balanced. And notice what's different about this side. Often in yoga we talk about balance, and some people think that that's symmetrical, just purely symmetrical. What we do on one side needs to look exactly the same on the other side. And there's something to be said for aesthetic that can be really nice. However, I think the balance that we're talking about is more so noticing the difference between one side and the other, and giving one side what it needs, giving the other side what it needs as well. So in this practice, it's not so much about how it looks, it's about how it feels, and being in tune with your body, giving each side what it really needs. So staying for the inhale, we can come back down, keeping the arms cactused, and then we can straighten that left arm, keeping that arm in line with the shoulder. This is the more intense, perhaps, variation of crocodile. So from baby crocodile to crocodile, we're leaning over again, with or without a bind, with or without a block for support. We're keeping the left shoulder planted on the mat. And see if you can keep your left arm resting on the mat as well. So we're not forcing anything here. This is one of the more intense shoulder openers we're doing, but we're still taking a very passive, gentle approach to it. Just like that, we stay for the inhale. Deepest point for the exhale. And then return. Either ear can rest on the mat. Maybe come to your right one again. Arms are goalpost or out to a T.
I had no idea my shoulders were stiff. Now they feel just so free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
oftentimes we don't realize just how much tension we're carrying in our body. Shoulders are a great example of that. That's one of the most common storage spaces in the body for stress. When we seek those spaces out and open them up, like, wow, I had no idea that I could be this open.
Ready to go surfing.
Right? Yeah, your shoulders love you for this. I mean, your shoulders do so much work for you, you know. It's nice to kind of return the favor and just mindfully give them a little bit of love. So staying on our belly,
I'm going to come up to my knees just for a moment to demonstrate what we're going to be doing. This is, I would say, a little bit more intense. What we're doing is we're crossing our arms over. We can be hugging opposite shoulders, but because we're on our belly, the arms can be long, but we're going to be putting our body weight onto our arms. And so for here, the right arm would go under and the left arm would go across as well. And we're just resting. This will open up through the shoulders. If the right arm is underneath the left, this would be getting more into the right shoulder. Of course, as we do in yoga, we'll do both. Both arms, both sides.
Get a pillow or a block if you like.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, the further we go, some of these just may not be for you. Some of these may be too intense. They may be just not really working with your body. And at that point, you can stop and focus on everything we've done up to the point that doesn't serve you anymore. Probably feel that shoulder opener, right, Adam?
So yummy.
Right?
Oh my.
Yeah. Just a few more breaths, even though me personally, I could stay here for a while.
Just camp out.
And again, you can do this for 3 cycles of breath. You can do this for 10 cycles of breath. I highly recommend staying with the breath as opposed to clock time, because when we know that we're breathing, we're connected to our body. You can do clock time as well. I just like mindful breathing. I like that to be my timer. Maybe one more deep inhale. Deepest point for the exhale. And then taking your time, coming up maybe to your forearms or elbows, and then switching. So this time the left arm would go underneath across the chest. The right arm would be across the chest as well. And when the left arm is underneath, we're getting into that left shoulder more, but you'll feel this in both shoulders. I can almost guarantee it. Relaxing the arms. And as we do this, you may be wondering, is this yoga? And technically, I think yes. Anything you do on your yoga mat is a yoga pose, is a yoga practice. What we're doing here could be aligned mostly with the practice of Yin Yoga. And so if these stretches and this pace and this vibe, if you will, really interest you, you can look into Yin Yoga. I like Yin. I think it's a very beautiful passive expression and a very meditative style of yoga and stretching, but you can also just call this stretching, up to you if you'd like. Many different doors to the same room, if you will.
It was a life changer for you, right?
It was. Yoga indeed changed everything in my life, and continues to. Practice is always changing and new. Getting some tingling in my arms here. I like that personally. What it reminds me of is when you kink a garden hose and hold the water off, and then you let it go again. We're kind of wringing out the shoulders here, wringing out the arms. Stay for the inhale. Deepest point for the exhale. When you're ready, unbind or uncross your arms. You can bring your arms back to a goal post, or maybe by your side, up to you. 3 cycles of breath, reset, let the circulation return to your arms.
Beautiful. When you're ready, taking your time, press yourself up to a comfortable seat. I'm going to stay on my knees for the time being. All of these shoulder openers and shoulder stretches are bringing us to what is, for my money, one of the most intense shoulder openers, which is a bind behind the back. And so you can be on your knees, you can be sitting down, maybe even lying down. I would try it on your knees first if your body's cool with that. What we're doing is bringing the right arm behind, and you can plant your hand just on your spine there, and the bottom hand comes behind as well, and we're planting that hand. This is getting into both shoulders. However, if you can make that bind and pull yourself in deeper, and we can do this with a towel, we could do this with a strap of some kind or a belt, and gently work our hands closer together. For me, on this side in particular, the bind's pretty easy, and this is a major shoulder opener through both shoulders. So we'll be here. I'll be with the visual component from the back. Adam's got the front. Just a few cycles of breath. Again, this is not for everyone. If you can't do it, don't feel bad. Plenty of other exercises to explore. Plenty of other stretches. Excellent. Can use the block.
I'm touching.
Excellent.
Here we go.
Yeah, and if you have like a dish towel or something and you know, grabbing both with your hands, a lot of times that can bring you closer over time to that bind. So we'll take one more deep inhale. And on the exhale at the bottom of that, we release. Maybe swing your arms side by side. We'll get the other side. This side is different for me for some reason. Sometimes I could touch my fingers. Sometimes I can make the bind. Sometimes none of those things. So left arm comes behind, and we can plant that hand on the spine so the palm is down. Right arm comes underneath as well. So, yeah. There you go.
There we go. I'm interlaced.
Same. Not as deep as the other side, but each side is different.
Swimmers, rock climbers,
wrestlers.
Ooh, for sure.
I wrestled in middle school and freshman year of high school. We were all shoulders, you know. That's one reason why this was such a game changer for me. When you seek out these areas of stress, just open them up. It really changes everything. It changes your whole connection to your body. Maybe 2 more breaths.
You own a body, you might as well be connected to it.
Yeah.
Own it. Right?
Exactly. Get to know it.
Right, right, intimately.
Oftentimes it's such a foreign entity. I can explore that landscape. One more. This is going to be resting, actually. So we've done the work. Now we get to take probably the most restorative, I would say, shoulder opener. And this also gets into the mid-back, which in turn helps the low back. A lot of times I deal with low back pain. A lot of times that's connected to mid-back, actually, and it's working our way up. Everything's connected in the body. So keeping that in mind, we take a block and we're placing it just below the shoulders. So it's going to be right there, and we're laying down on the block. So this will be on our back. This is the final resting pose. And if this is too intense, no worries. This is coming just beneath or between your shoulder blades. So the top of the block is right between your shoulder blades. And you can feel this opening up. This will be the mid-back. But because we're opening through there, the shoulders are relaxed. They're dropping down. We're open through the collarbone, open through the clavicle bone. My head is resting on the mat. I really like this. If you feel like your head is just hanging out or you're straining your neck, you can place a block maybe on the second level and slightly elevate your head. You can do that too, and even doing that, we're still definitely getting into the shoulders and the mid-back. And from there, we're helping the low back as well. I like them by my side. This is the most neutral. Some yogis like to reach up and over, which is going to intensify. You can also grab opposite elbows and just rest your forearms above your head. I never go that deep just because I don't. I like the more passive approach, and oftentimes I'll stay here for probably 3 minutes, which really opens up. You can also bring your arms more to a T. I mean, wherever you put your arms, it's going to change the mobility in your shoulders and thereby changing the expression and experience of the pose. So notice what works for you, but make sure that we're not straining, and definitely make sure that there's not any pain. So do you have a preference? You're reaching up and over. Do you like that?
I'm loving it, yes.
Okay, cool. See, and for me, that would be a little too intense, but that's my shoulders, my body, my practice. So wherever you are, exactly where you need to be. Be here for, what do you think, 30, 40 more minutes? Oh, I'm kidding. let's do a few more cycles of breath and we'll wrap this up. But again, you can do this for as long as you'd like. You can do as many or as few of these shoulder openers. Each one is going to help open up through the shoulders, and doing them at least for a little bit of time will definitely help. Two more breaths. Stay for the inhale. Deepest point for the exhale. And however you get there, maybe roll on to one side, fetal position. Maybe you just remove the block. However you get there, you come to a comfortable seat. Much like how we started, with or without a block. I'm gonna elevate my hips slightly. And before we do anything else, roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Again, this has been our baseline through the whole sequencing, the entire experience. We're keeping the shoulders open, keeping the chest open, the shoulders relaxed. Oftentimes, we're tensing so much and rounding so much, we don't even realize it until we start to get in there and start to open them up. So, those are a few of my favorite shoulder openers.
Thank you so much. From
My pleasure.
From Casey's heart to your shoulders, go do what you got to do with them now. Give yourself a hug. Go give somebody a tight hug and use those shoulders. Thanks for being with us today.
Enjoy.